This episode is for you if you like small dogs and you want to make more money. We hear from a very special guest, Pam, who did her first deal on a manufactured home, or a wobbly box, as she says. And she's absolutely just made a killing on this. And our favorite part was when her small dog joined in the conversation. Ryan, what's your experience here with wholesaling real estate?
Yeah, sometimes, especially in Pam's case, finding deals in more unlikely things, finding deals where other people aren't paying attention to them and turning those into your specific niche. And so that's what I took away from it, is she made lemons out of lemonade. She was finding leads on other types of deals.
Yeah. So this is actually the podcast replacing your W-2 income with wholesaling real estate. This one veers a little bit outside of wholesaling because wholesaling is a pathway to go do other strategies. It's a great way because you don't need a lot of money to take down the property, but you can make a pretty big finder's fee. So this episode could open your eyes into the types of real estate investing that's possible for you once you get into wholesaling. So Pam, tell us, how much did you make on your very first real estate deal?
Well, my reality is I've made infinite on my first real estate deal. And the reason is because it was a wobbly box, and not everybody likes modular homes and mobile homes, manufactured homes, however we want to call them. But I have made that somewhat my bread and butter on many of the deals that I've done. I was, back in the day, it was Craigslist. So my first deal was Craigslist. I looked in a little area that's close to where I grew up called Carthage, North Carolina, and one deal popped up. It was 5 acres, 5 lots, 3 existing homes, 1 burned out trailer, and I moved a double wide in there. Convinced the seller to reduce the price by $20,000, put a little bit down, convinced him to owner finance because it was all these fantastic tax benefits that I didn't know what I was talking about at the time, but convinced him. And then within 3 months, I was cash flowing $800 while paying off the land, the home that I had bought for cash. And I've had that little 5 lot park for about 12 years now. So I think I hit a home run on that one. And in that area specifically, the land has continuously just increased. Obviously, that was paid off fairly quickly. So within 3 years, I was cash flowing 100% on that one. And if I were to try and divide up that land and sell it today, I'd make a pretty penny. Can also set up and do homes there in some point in the future if I wanted to do new builds or duplexes there.
Yeah.
So
now you said it was a wobbly box.
First deal was a home run. Wobbly box, when I say that's manufactured homes is what I'm referring to there.
What motivated you to go looking for that in the first place?
So I found out what rent was going for in this rural town, a small little town in North Carolina, about an hour and 20 minutes away from Raleigh. And I was stunned. Even back then, it was $700 a month for a 2-bedroom. And I'm like, what? Like, it was one of those areas that I didn't even know was on the map for that type of rent. And I had somebody that was looking for a place to rent, and they had asked me if I would help them buy a home. And I said, no. But when I started looking at what I could buy that property for versus the potential of 5 homes to rent out, it was a no-brainer even for the inexperienced novice person coming into the world of real estate investing. And then, my mistake was I didn't buy a lot more instantly. At that point, I would buy a property that I could afford with my own money, and I didn't know how to find hard money lenders. So I bought several things, including a couple of parks at that point, where I would buy it, I would pay cash for it, and then it would sit because I didn't know how to find hard money lenders, or I didn't know how to find private lenders. And then over time, obviously, as I became more integrated with real estate and learned the language, the lingo, the connections, we've been nonstop, and I love what I do. I didn't start out in real estate. I was a nurse who got into IT and did very large scale implementations at multiple hospital systems at a time.
Yeah.
And so the logic and the process of remodeling, buying, process, repeat was totally within my realm of what I was doing already. Instead of doing with patients initially in the emergency room and then projects with the hospital system, now we just apply them to land and homes. So I like the idea of having a project that has an endpoint and then you keep moving, and the excitement of the negotiation that comes with any of this, and then the beautification of the home that you have and where you get to, whether we hold it and refinance it, or sometimes we'll do lease options and owner financing, or we retail sell it. No matter which one we go, it's the thrill of the deal, as we say, right? I still get excited over that.
Yeah, it's really exciting and rewarding to see a house transform. One of my
It
favorite
truly
parts.
is. It is. And you have to have the vision sometimes to see that. And not everybody has that. So I'm grateful that I have that ability to look and see that and then produce that. I'm sorry, I have a little dog in the background that wants to join.
All is welcome. They're obviously receiving the benefits of your hard work real estate investing. So
That's right. They're my office mate to sit here with me during the daytime. So it's
There
great.
you go.
what was that specific strategy you said you were using Deal Machine for? Were you using the filter to find vacant land, or were you driving around and taking pictures of that and adding it to the app?
Sure. So I was that person that would ride down a street and spend 30 minutes going, and I would have my phone and I would do a voice to text and I would say 123 Main Street, comma 128 Main Street, and then I would send that to myself, and then I wouldn't do anything to it. So not only did I waste my time by driving for dollars, right, that I wasn't following up for, but I would spend a lot of time doing that. And then I heard about Deal Machine. I'm like, this is fascinating. So I started that, and I love the ease of Deal Machine because I can literally drive by. I can click on it to start I do 6 postcards typically with my mailers
Mm-hmm.
every 3 to 5 weeks, depending on which campaign we have going on. And then it's set it and forget about it, which is the best way. For me, I like the idea that the person is going to receive the cards and then they'll call us, either say, please stop, we don't want to sell the property, or you obviously are interested in this property because you keep sending me cards, right?
Yeah.
So I still do a lot of driving for dollars. Sometimes we'll use filters depending on where I'm looking. Sometimes we'll do desktop for dollars, right? Where I literally put on filters and a location and literally drive on my map here on my laptop and then click, click, click to get them coming in. About 5 months ago, we had a gentleman that was about 82 years old call me, and he had 13 acres of land, had an old house on it, and he said, you've been sending me cards for a long time, and I've had a little stack here, and I'm at a point that I need to do something. So I thought you must be so interested in my property, I'd call you first. And so the concept of set it, forget about it, multiple cards going out works. I mean, at this point, I have about 50% of all the people that call that I end up going on an appointment with will say, I looked you up on social media, you look like the real deal. The seller today is a little bit more savvy than some, right? With wanting to know if you're legitimate versus there's some folks out there that may not give us the best name in this industry that, are trying to do some things a little bit different. So between Deal Machine making it much simpler for me, I've also, a fun story for me with Deal Machine, I had a colleague that had an old hotel in their hometown, and when I went to visit him, and I'm like, what is that? And I'm like, that's your next deal. And he's like, no, that thing's been here forever. Well, I had him pull up into the yard of the parking lot of the old hotel. And I pulled up Deal Machine and I skip traced it there and I called somebody and they picked up the phone. And I'm like, so we're at your hotel here. Can we go in? And he's like, sure. And my friend's like, what are you doing? How did you do that? Right. And we walked around, and before we left, we had calculations on what it would take to convert it from the 28 rooms to 24 apartments basically. And we didn't end up making it work, but it just makes everything at your fingertips and easy. You're not going to multiple sites. You're going to one app. You're either clicking and starting your postcards, or you're clicking and calling, and makes it easy. So,
Yeah.
uh,
Now, on that first deal, you said that you've kept that and you still have it. Do you
I
mostly do buy and holds, or are you also flipping or doing any wholesaling? And what all do you do?
Yes. The answer is it depends on what the deal is and what makes logical sense to me, right?
Okay.
I like the ability. So in the ER, we would triage a patient. We didn't know what was walking in that door, right? We would triage them and we'd figure out, do you treat them and admit them? Do you treat them in surgical procedures? Do you treat them and discharge them? I see real estate as the same thing, right? If I have someone that's willing to owner finance, that's always my first strategy, my friends. If I can owner finance up to, I'll do that all day long because my job is to solve problems. I create opportunities, I find solutions, and make it happen. So that's kind of what I say all the time. I create opportunities, find solutions, and make it happen. So every seller has a different need. Some sellers want money today. Some sellers are behind on taxes and they don't know what to do with the property. Some sellers don't want to take the tax hit. So the seller's conversation with me and my team direct what we do with that property. If it's within our buy box, we'll take it. We'll oftentimes keep it because I love to hold because of appreciation and other things and depreciation.
Right.
But if it's not a market that we're in, or it makes more financial sense for us to flip it, and fixing it or take it and owner finance it out to someone or just wholesale it, then we'll look at that as well. But for a good portion of what we do, I would say we do buy and hold. This year, I have a strategy of setting up a specific number of manufactured homes on raw land or land that previously had a home with infrastructure on it, and then retail selling those. I have a manufactured home dealer license as well, because I do identify and support that asset class of manufactured homes. I do quite a bit of education to other people on what it means for manufactured homes, the goods, the bads, the differences mainly, on how those manage. So we have switched and are looking for raw land. Sometimes we'll split the parcels, sometimes we'll leave them together and keep going.
So if you were listening to somebody who wanted to get into real estate investing for the first time, what would be your recommendation that they do for a strategy?
Sure. Start. Take action, right? I think so many people will go to class after class after class or talk to a mentor and pay for this and pay for that, but they don't move, right? Mm-hmm. None of us have the answers when we start this. I mean, did you two have your answers when you started this?
No.
So find somebody that you align with, start the process, whether you identify a neighborhood or you identify a specific home or a specific parcel of land. When the deal is right, you can find the resources, right? So we're all in different scenarios with baseline education of where we start and then baseline of financials. If the deal was good enough with your negotiation and ability to connect with the sellers, then you'll find the buyer, you'll find the lender, you'll find the resources, right? But taking action today of what you have an interest in. And then if you're a little too fearful of that, then find your local real estate investors association, the RIAs, and align with someone there. Again, I appreciate Deal Machine. I've been using it for many years now. And to me, it's just the simplest way to see something that I'm interested in, whether it's a vacant, abandoned, high grass, something's not quite there, or if I look it up on taxes and see they're behind, or pre-foreclosure. The first line is the easiest one, just to click to say, let's start the process and see if I get any responses. So I think Deal Machine is an easy way to get started if you're interested. But don't make the mistake I did in the beginning, because if you get the call, you have to actually speak to someone. You have to return that call. You can't just have the phone ringing and not take the action of actually having that conversation, right? I'm one of those people that if there's a failure to be made, I probably have made it at some point, right? So I was spending money on marketing in the beginning and I wouldn't call people back. Well, what was I doing, right? Mm-hmm. So some of those systems and processes, and of course we have ways out there that we can bring in different resources, whether it's virtual assistants or answering services that can support that. So when you start it, just be prepared to pick up the phone and actually speak to someone.
Yeah.
And some folks will say, well, talking to the seller is the hardest part. And I'm like, no, it's not. I said, if you can have a conversation with a new friend, you're just asking them about their house. Let them tell you the story, right? Mm-hmm. It's no different than that. So for me, I think you just got to start moving, right? You may not have all the answers yet, and that's okay. None of us had the answers, right? But when you get the right person, the right scenario, the right deal, the rest will find its way to you. And mm-hmm. there's so many available resources everywhere now that you can tap into. I mean, I have a feeling that the two of you, if someone were to reach out to you and say, I have this house under contract, I don't know quite what to do, but if the numbers work on that, you guys would help them figure out the solution to that problem, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
So, absolutely. I say there's enough of the pie to go around for all of us, and it's okay to align yourself with other people that have done it, that have experience with you. Can't trust everyone, but for the most part, there's good people out there that can support you whenever you're ready to find the next step if the deal is good.
Yeah. So where do you want to take your business next?
Sure. I want to continue doing what we're doing today, which is buying and holding, buying and flipping, and then buying land for manufactured homes. I would like to get into small to medium sized multifamily as I continue to grow. And I would love to take on another mobile home park at some point in the future. Bigger ones
Okay.
than what I have currently. I have several small to medium mobile home parks. I see, affordable housing as being a true thing that is needed desperately. And when we're in an area like Raleigh, where your average home price is around $400,000, what I say is we live in a bubble.
Yeah.
Who supports that 400,000 plus home when we're going to restaurants? The people that are literally servicing us can't live here anymore. So how do we take that to the next layers out of that area and provide options for people to not only rent effectively, but then eventually own effectively, whether that be through providing rental opportunities, providing opportunities for owner financing, lease options, and more. So,
Yeah. Do you have a place on social media where people can find you?
I do. I am old, as my niece tells me all the time, and I'm still on Facebook. I do some things out on Instagram, but that's not really where I am. So what I would say nicely is I'd love for anyone to come out and follow me on Facebook. Facebook does limit you at some point to the number of friends that you have. So I'm at that point where I ask people to follow versus friend, because I can't continue taking on the friends because of where I am. But that's what I would say is Pam Fisher. I'm in Raleigh, North Carolina. And then if you'll, again, follow versus friend, because I can't keep responding. I'm denied access to keep responding to friendships. You guys probably know what that's like better than I do on there.
Well, thank you so much, Pam. I'm going to go ahead and follow you on social media.
Awesome. I appreciate that, David. I'll do the same back, and you as well, Ryan, out there.
Yeah, for sure.
So
thanks so much for your time and sharing everything, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.
You as well. Thanks for the opportunity to come on and say hello. Appreciate it.
Thank
you. Bet.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
See you, Pam.
Thanks for listening to the Deal Machine Real Estate Investing Podcast. Please leave us a review and follow along wherever you're listening to your podcast.